Hi guys, I'm back again with some more stories for you today. Let's go to the first one, about OP's evil stepmother, who wouldn't allow OP to have a picture with her father and mother on her wedding day. Well, guess if OP's dad obliged. Listen to the story to find out, and of course to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories, guys, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. My parents are divorced and don't get along. They did try to hide it from me, but I was never blind. I lived two separate lives growing up, but after I got engaged, I had dreams of having this big pretty wedding, and I wanted my mom and dad to be part of it. I wanted to do all the traditional things. Mom gets ready with me, and dad walks me down the aisle, etc. We were taking family pictures before the reception, and I wanted a picture with my mom and dad and I. Just one. I took ones with dad and his wife, and my mom and her husband. My stepmom refused and threw a tantrum and was like, "You guys aren't a family anymore. Your dad is married to me. You can't be in a picture with just your mom and dad. I don't care that it's your wedding. It's disrespectful to our marriage." My stepdad didn't care because he doesn't have a temperament of a toddler, and my mom was willing to do it. My dad, however, sided with his wife. I told him it was one picture that his daughter wanted to have a keepsake of to remember her wedding. He told me he loved me very much, but that his wife wouldn't be comfortable with it, and so he couldn't. He said he would love to take more pictures of all five of us, dad, mom, stepmom, and stepdad, and more of just me and him, but I declined. I told him that I no longer wanted to share the first dance with him at the reception, and that I no longer wanted to hear whatever speech he concocted, because it would clearly all be BS. I told him he couldn't even take a picture with me. He told me he understood, even though he wishes he could do those things with me. I asked him to leave, even though he really wanted to stay. He called me crying the next day and wanted to talk. I told him good thing he has another daughter, dad and stepmom's kid, and good thing he has the chance to be the father of the bride at that one. He told me I was not replaceable, and if there was anything he could do to make it up to me. He was super remorseful, and he doesn't make emotion, so I knew he wasn't being manipulative. I was wondering if I was the a-hole for making him leave because I guess it's not his fault his wife is someone so insecure. OP's dad has his own mind and doesn't have to let his wife think for him. She acted like a spoiled little child. He could have taken the picture and told his wife to sit down and cut the crap. He made his choices and now has to live with the consequences. He chose to damage his relationship with OP. Honestly, it's probably better they left anyway, after his wife had no problem behaving that way and saying nasty things to OP at her wedding. She probably wouldn't have been pleasant the rest of the night, and he wouldn't have made her stop. And now let's see if the community agrees with me. There's Sam Hatch says, not the a-hole. If there was ever a time for him to cast your stepmom's feeling aside for 10 seconds, it was then. He showed you who his priorities are. Good on you, OP. Hopefully this opens his eyes to the kind of woman his wife is. Valdebaran says, not the a-hole. Your wedding, your rules. Your stepmother seems ridiculously insecure and toxic. She was clearly the source of the problems, but you'd have never been able to get her to leave without your father, so your options were limited. Pingu the Greek says, nope. You asked for a photo on your wedding day with your biological parents. That's perfectly reasonable. Stepmother is a child. He screwed up and screwed up your relationship. That's down to his choices, not the a-hole at all. For context, I have one older brother. I have 2 kids, and he has 2 with his wife. All of our kids are school-aged. His 2 and my youngest go to the same school. My sister-in-law doesn't work, hasn't in years. She doesn't have a license. My brother works full-time. I'm a single mom, so when I have my kids, I do the whole school thing. And since my brother's 2 attend the same school as one of mine, I'll pick up his kids from school and bring them home. If I don't have to pick up my kids, my mom or dad will pick up my brother's kids. Recently, I've noticed that my parents or myself are doing a lot for them when my brother is off work and at home. This happened several times before I said something about it. Sister-in-law needed to go to the grocery store. Both kids were at school. She asked me if I could take her. I really didn't want to, since it was my only day off work that week, but they had no food at home, so I agreed. I go over and see my brother's car out front. I asked her if he was home, and she said, yeah, it's his day off. This didn't sit well with me. I asked her if he was feeling okay. She was confused and said, yeah, he feels fine, why? I told her, well, I don't understand why you called me when he's home, capable of taking you, or going for you. She told me, well, like I said, it's his day off. He doesn't feel like doing it. I told her that it's not my responsibility to do things for her. I do it to help out when my brother's at work because she has no way else to do it. That I don't appreciate being taken advantage of when he's right there to take care of his family himself. After some back and forth, I left. My brother calls me and is mad, saying, "My kids will starve tonight and it's your fault. You could have just taken her because I work hard all week and needed a day off. I hate going to the store." Like just manipulative, victimizing things. I told him that his family and their needs are no longer a priority of mine. That I did not mind helping out when it's needed, but when he's home, healthy and able, I'm not needed. That my time is just as important as his, and from now on, they can figure out another way to get things done when he's not able to. I called my parents and told them what's been happening. They've noticed it a lot lately too, but haven't said anything to them because they are his parents and those are their grandchildren. My parents think I'm the a-hole for refusing to help them anymore with anything, even if my brother is actually at work, because now they will rely solely on them. I told my parents it's on them to set boundaries in their own life. This is now one of mine. That they can help out even more or set limits with their own time. I feel really taken advantage of, and there is absolutely no remorse from them. My sister-in-law is blasting me on social media, calling me a bad person, bad talking about me to her friends and family. So I need to know, am I the a-hole? OP's brother and sister-in-law are self-centered and manipulative. Unless there's a health reason as to why she doesn't drive, she needs to grow up and get her license. Or take a bus, taxi, rideshare service, bicycle, walk, skip, skate. Lots of ways to get around without knowing how to drive. Sadly, OP's parents are enabling them. And now let's hear the community's opinion. Kelly Margaret says, "Not the a-hole. Your brother is lazy and entitled. He thinks his time and life are much more important than anyone else's." Opinionated Jars says, "He'd rather his children starve than go to the ducking grocery store? What a bunch of moochers. Wow, I would be so damn frustrated with your family. Not the a-hole." HP Nerd 44 says, "Not the a-hole, and that is some fantastic boundary setting. Your parents will need to learn to do it as well. It's not your problem that your brother is taking advantage of everyone." I, male 46, have a stepson, Sam 25. I had endured so much from him since the first day I met him. He always caused me hurt, never apologized, never felt remorse or empathy, never admitted he was wrong. He kept denying help from me, made painful comments, laughed when I cried, and said I was trying to buy him with how I treated him when he was sick. I did everything for him, stayed up with him when he was sick, gave him blood when he needed blood transfusion twice, bought him CDs and drove his friends to see him. I tried in so many ways, but nothing worked. My wife told me to just leave him alone after he damaged my car, cost me my job, and made me lose family members after he hurt them with his behavior. But I gave him an ultimatum. Either he gets help, or I won't have to put up with this anymore. I was able to get him in therapy. That was an opening. He's become calm and collected. We started trusting each other. I paid for his semesters in college. I helped him get a place on his own. I paid for rent for the first 2 months, and I had a friend hire him. Sammy always keeps in contact with his bio dad. I don't get involved, but his bio dad is useless. He made zero effort to be a parent. He's always been busy stirring drama and ruining my reputation. We received an invitation for Sammy's wedding. He's been engaged for 5 months. The wedding at his aunt's house. His aunt doesn't like me. I hesitated to go, but my wife said I needed to show Sam I support him. I decided to go. At the wedding, Sammy stayed with his dad and ignored me for hours. Didn't even let me talk to his fiance's parents. I just sat there hoping it'd soon be over. When it was time for Sam to give a speech, he gave thanks to guests, then started talking about his bio dad. Said his dad's always been there for him. Basically lied and said he helped him when he was sick. Helped him get a degree and a stable home. I got uncomfortable as my wife looked at me. He didn't even mention me and kept praising him. Then he said that he'll always be the one he appreciates and trusts. I've had it. I got up and walked out while everyone was sitting. Sam stopped talking and watched me walk. My wife followed me. We got into an argument and she yelled at me for being petty and ruining the event. I'm a calm person. I never yell. It takes a huge effort for them to piss me off. But that day they didn't even have to try. I blew up at her and others who said I shouldn't have walked out and guilted me, and went home. I felt like I had to suck it up, but I felt like I wasted my life for nothing. My wife thinks I overreacted and it was just a stupid speech. OP should never support that person financially again. If his mother tries to, using OP's or shared money, OP needs to split finances. OP should not allow him in his house, if it's OP's, on the grounds that OP has tried enough and that if OP's wife assumedly wants to continue the relationship, she can do it in her own space. OP should not forget his wife's role in enabling her son's aggression and disrespect of OP. And now let's hear the community's opinion. Impossible to pronounce says, "Yikes! To say this is a weighted narrative would be an understatement. But taking you at your word that everything is true to the letter, of course not the a-hole. Your only misstep, it seems, was attending the wedding to support this person who has never supported you." Disastrous ad says, "Not the a-hole. Your wife doesn't sound innocent here, I'm sorry to say. She believes you're petty. Ask her if you were petty when you gave blood transfusions, you gave financial, work, life security. Her saying you overreacted says that she hasn't been by your side on this. When you've tried in the past to acknowledge things, your wife told you to leave him alone. She basically asked you to keep taking his aggression and don't make waves. It kinda sounds like your problem has been made worse by her. Cut him off, 100%. No contact, don't come by the house. Since wifey thinks it's just a stupid speech, tell her to have their conversation somewhere else when he comes. Your wife sounds like not a nice person." My brother's family is messy. He's been married 3 times, has 5 kids between the first 2 marriages, divorced number 3 a couple of years ago, and is currently dating a known alcoholic who still drinks. His first marriage ended because my brother decided he wanted to be with someone else. That relationship broke up. Wife number 2 came along not long after. They were married for 4 years, had 3 kids one after the other, but ultimately, she couldn't deal with my brother's oldest kids not wanting her around and treating her badly. That marriage ended more brutally than his first. More than a decade later, he was married to wife number 3 when the past came back up, and his kids from the second marriage started hating their older siblings for breaking up the family and not being remorseful about it. The older kids said they hadn't liked the younger kid's mom and had no regrets about pushing her out of their lives. They cannot be in the same room today without fighting. Between this and the kids of the second marriage disliking the third wife, that marriage ended. The older kids said it was funny how the younger ones didn't like their dad's wife, and that was okay, but they were horrible for not liking the younger sibling's mom. My brother tries to make everyone get along, but they don't want to. Now he's dating someone who has shown up drunk to so many things and has actually caused a couple of scenes. Because of this, I do not want them near my wedding. Not the nieces and nephews, and not the new girlfriend. I brought this to my brother after he mentioned coming to my wedding. He told me at 55, he should be able to bring whoever he wants, and I should stop treating him like a child. I told him it wasn't me treating him like a child, but about me protecting my wedding, that I would only invite him if he comes alone. He believes I'm an a-hole for putting a rule on him like this. Is he right? Kind of used to, it says. Not the a-hole. It's your wedding, so you get free reign to decide who's invited and who isn't. If your brother doesn't like it, he doesn't have to come. Del901 says, "Not the a-hole. Make sure security at your wedding is aware, and if you aren't sure he will comply, consider uninviting him. Congratulations on the upcoming nuptials, which I hope are drama-free." Knox Wild says, "Not the a-hole. Don't invite him either. He'll disregard your wishes and show up with drunk wife number 4 and whoever else he decides should be there. Just ban him for his entitledness." My 26 female, sister, 28 female, and I stopped at a local coffee shop about a month and a half ago. She ordered 3 large hot coffees, and upon handing me the coffees that were in a cup holder, I mentioned to her that she needed to ask for another cup holder because the one that was handed to us had a tear in it. Obviously, she didn't hear me because she was on the phone, so I got her attention again and told her we needed another holder, which was of no use since she'd already pulled off. Their lobby is closed to the public. She brushed it off and just told me to put them on the floor. But before I could, she pulled off like a bat out of hell. The cup holder tore, which caused the hot coffee to spill on me. I screamed from the pain. I guess I scared her. Instead of hitting the brake, she hit the gas, which veered us out into the middle of traffic, where another car collided with us from her side, which spent the car and sent us head on to a pole. The impact was enough to total the side and front of her car and make the airbags deploy. But we didn't suffer any injuries. Well, she didn't. I suffered second-degree burns on my thighs, lower half of my stomach, and part of my arm. She had let her insurance lapse. Well, now she's stating I need to help her get another vehicle since it was my fault she'd wrecked in the first place. I told her that if that was the case, then she needed to pay for my hospital bills, since she's the reason for the entire situation in the first place. We had a big argument about it. She got our parents involved. Now they're stating that I either need to hawk up a down payment for her a car, or at least go half on another vehicle for her. My mother more than anything. I refused. I said that we were square since she didn't contribute a penny to my hospital bills. Now I'm being told that I'm selfish, irresponsible, and show no remorse for my sister's car being totaled. That since I make more than her and have no kids, that I shouldn't have a problem doing it. Nut Michelle says, "Not the a-hole. Your sister's an a-hole for driving erratically and not having insurance. Your parents are a-holes for siding with her." Cthulhu28 says, "Not the a-hole. You are allowed to scream in pain when you're being literally burned. You did nothing wrong. She didn't listen to you, burned you, let her insurance lapse, and then blamed you for an incident she caused. It makes zero sense to me why your parents would side with her, unless she gave them a different story." Bondo Wallace says, "Not the a-hole. She let her insurance lapse, not you. She ignored your request to get another cup holder, not you. She punched the gas, causing the coffee to spill, not you. The accident was her fault, done deal. Lapse insurance. She should not have been on the road anyways. Stop getting in cars with her."